We're coming to you live from deep in the mountains of the Missouri Ozarks on Friday, the 6th day of December, year of our Lord 2019. Welcome to the John Moore Show. We begin our shows with something that I would like to see the governor of Virginia, Ralph Northam, say publicly. He certainly is not living up to his oath to support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic. The governor of Virginia, Ralph Northam. I would like to see him publicly say the Pledge of Allegiance. We begin our shows with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Our prep tip of the day, I want to encourage you to make sure all your team members have a mechanical wristwatch, self-winding wristwatch, a wristwatch that does not take a battery. I say again, a wristwatch that does not take a battery. You're conducting any kind of tactical exercise. Everybody needs to have a good quality mechanical wristwatch. We have some offered for sale under Amazon at my website, John's Products. Let's see where we would go with that. We got a drop-down menu, and it says, where does that go to? John's Products, and then we click on that, and what do we have? There we go. Let's see where all the Amazon stuff is. I don't do this very frequently. At the very bottom, Amazon Products recommended by John. You'll find mechanical wristwatches there from, less than $50 to Rolexes. And so check those out. We've been working on my audio. We think we've got it corrected. I'm getting reports from my engineer this morning that the audio is squared away. Lots of good suggestions from listeners, literally all over the world, Germany, United States, and so forth. And we have patiently waiting for us to talk about emergency survival communications, my friend Tom Berryhill. Good morning, Tom.
Hi, John. Good morning. I didn't know you had audio problems. It sounds pretty good.
Well, there was issues, and it basically came down to what's the same and what's different. What's different was I left a video camera plugged in after I was with Doug Hagman. I have a regular guest appearance every Monday morning with Doug Hagman, and that's the only thing I changed was unplugging that. And once I did that, everything went back to normal. So do these video cameras have a microphone built in? Tom, do you know?
Well, I would think they should, yeah, and I'm certain they do. Yeah, of course.
Okay, well, that would be the reason. Then I need to find out where that is and disable it or put tape over it or something, because I know it's causing issues with Doug, as opposed to using the professional microphone right in front of my mouth. We got a video camera 4 feet away. That's probably not the best situation. Well, regardless, Tom, we have this past Tuesday was exactly 1 year, exactly 11 months. Exactly 11 months from the first Tuesday in November. This time will pass by very quickly, and I want to mention also, Tom, that you're invited tomorrow to our preparedness chili dinner at the Viburnum Firehouse. You get there about 11:30. That would be about the right time. We're going to be planning tomorrow, Tom, our calendar for 2020 training, which will include a Saturday morning for you to do your annual ham radio emergency communications presentation. Let's talk privately after the show and compare some calendars so we can get that date squared away, if you can spare some time.
Sure, John, that's fine. I wish I could be there tomorrow, but I'll be heading to Chicago tomorrow night. So I'm sorry, not tomorrow, tonight, and I'll be back on Monday.
All right. Well, it sounds like a good time to be in Chicago. Well, there's a lot of concern reaching all the way to the Oval Office about what may or may not happen in 11 months following the election. Some concern as well as what might take place between now and then, the next 11 months, in terms of civil disorder. Tom, there was an article that I published on my website 2 days ago. I don't know if you've seen it or not. I know you're a busy guy, but the former governor of Colorado, he gave a speech and wrote an opinion that was published in the Washington Examiner. Governor Richard Lamb, a liberal homosexual governor of Colorado, I keep wanting to say California, of Colorado, who hit the nail on the head when it came to the legitimate concern we have about multiculturalism and how, in every case, for many centuries, having a population that does not have a single language, that does not share a single culture, ends up in disaster and defeat. That's the historical record. American exceptionalism cannot change that historical record. And Tom, I want to encourage everybody to read that article. It's only 2 pages. When it's printed out on an 8.5 by 11 paper, it's only 2 pages. And there's also a video of Mark Levin making an 8-minute commentary on this article as well. This is very well done, and Tom, you and I, our children, our grandchildren, they will be dealing with the consequences of this for the rest of their lives. We're looking at least a century's worth of consequences of what's been taking place the last 25 years, the uncontrolled illegal immigration, the refusal of new immigrants to ingratiate themselves and learn English as their primary language and become part of American culture. And this goes back to our main topic today, which is emergency survival communications. I think short term, Tom, there's going to be severe consequences, which will lead to civil disorder, disruption in normal services and goods and services, and that if people aren't prepared in every way, including communications, they're going to pay a severe penalty, won't they, sir?
Yes, sir, they really will, John, and communication is going to be so important. We've talked so much about food storage, firearms, ammunition. Communications is right up there at the top with those other items. It truly is.
Well, we always have new listeners, so I should mention what I've mentioned before, and that was my experience during the Tet Offensive in Vietnam in 1968. We were desperate for real information to find out what was really going on a football field away, half a mile away, and of course in the whole country. And we got to the point where I think it was the second morning, maybe the third morning of the Tet Offensive, my commander asked me to volunteer, and of course I did volunteer along with one of my buddies to take a Jeep out and drive to certain areas of our city that we were in. We were in a city of 1 million people, the capital city of the Fourth Corps, Canton, and make observations and return to base and report our findings, which of course we did. That's how desperate we were, because sending me and my buddy out in a combat zone with, I had my Thompson 45 submachine gun, and my buddy had his M3 submachine gun, and our flak jackets and our steel pots, and we didn't even have radios to talk back to our base. That's how how ill prepared we were, that we could not even talk to our base of operations. So I did that. We came back and we made a report to our commander of what we observed, and we had Armed Forces radio on, AM radio, 24 hours a day, 7 days a radio, 7 days a week, getting reports from Saigon. It was a wake-up call for me to understand human nature, that if you don't have information, your mind will immediately go to a worst-case scenario. Most parents go through this when little Sally or little Tommy doesn't come home at the appointed time. The teenager doesn't come home at the appointed time, and every hour it gets later. Mom and Dad immediately think that the child is laying somewhere bleeding out in a ditch from an automobile accident. Don't they, Tom?
Yeah, that's exactly what happens, John. Yes.
Now, that goes more to the days before cell phones.
Lack of communication. Lack of communications can be a big cause of that.
And of course, I'm talking more about the days before cell phones, when teenagers would have the keys to the family car, go out on a social event with their friend, and be expected to be back in an appointed time. And of course, when they didn't, that's when the consequences kicked in. And it's human nature for your mind to go to a worst case scenario very quickly. That's expected. That's normal. There's nothing wrong with it. That's expected. That's normal. And any kind of crisis, ladies and gentlemen, that may happen in the future involving the George Soros financed, trained, equipped protesters causing civil disorder, the same thing will happen to you. If you don't have access to real-time information about what's really going on, your mind will immediately go to a worst-case scenario. Hopefully the grid would stay up, and hopefully we'll still be broadcast information that people could gain access to. But we can't count on that, can we, Tom?
No, we can't, John. And, of course, if the grid goes down or taken down intentionally, you're going to have to really rely on your own resources, and that's going to be battery power, generators. You better have a lot of fuel handy. Propane would be best. So you have to plan all this out now, not 11 months from now. This is the time to be doing this, and actually everybody should have given this careful consideration a long time ago and started preparing for these types of situations. I really think, John, that a really good scanner that will pick up digital signals, especially P25, which is used by many law enforcement agencies. Some of it's encrypted. If it's encrypted, you're just out of luck. But not all of it is, and you'll gather a lot of information this way. So a really good high-quality scanner, and very important also would be a shortwave radio capable of single sideband reception. And this is a minimum, because even if you're not a ham radio operator, you'll be able to listen to them. You'll be able to listen to the military and commercial radio traffic that's on shortwave. There's a lot of that on there. And that's all single sideband. Some of it will be data. You can buy equipment that will decode and print out on your computer screen the actual data transmissions, as long as it's not encoded or encrypted. So those are important things to have. The shortwave radio is valuable, in my opinion, because you'll get information from sources outside of our country that may have more truth than what we're being fed over a television set.
Right. Well, there'll still be, I'll just give some people some examples. Embassy Row in Washington, D.C. will, except in an extreme catastrophe, will still have foreign embassies open for operation. Those embassies report back to their home countries, who in turn put out reports on shortwave radio. So there's going to be multiple sources of radio information. And if you have the radios, you can intercept those broadcasts and get the information. If you don't, you can't. And you'll just be sitting there in the dark, wondering what's going on, knowing in your mind, because as I said earlier, your mind goes to the worst case scenario immediately, knowing in your mind that things are far worse than they really are. And that's not healthy. That's really not healthy. That kind of fear will cause you to make imprudent decisions, do things that probably shouldn't be done, maybe put yourself at risk attempting to travel someplace that would be more risky than staying where you are. Lots of possibilities and lots of bad possible consequences for making improper decisions because you don't have good information, right, Tom?
That's absolutely correct, John. And again, non-domestic sources, anything outside of our country will have so much good information. Now, something we haven't talked about much in the past is maybe something to consider, some sort of a satellite receiver. And I know a lot of people listen to public broadcasting maybe on a satellite system. There's other networks on there as well with valid information, good information. And sources outside of our country would be on there also. So there's satellite systems that could be used. Of course, the common denominator with all of this is the power to run it. So focusing on a small generator that could maybe charge banks of batteries would be your optimum approach, as well as solar panels if you can afford those. Set up a solar panel system. You don't need a huge solar array unless you want to run everything in your house. If you're just worried about your communications, maybe a computer and a system large enough to run the blower motor on a furnace, a gas furnace, would be very helpful. Maybe some refrigeration. Some people want to have a solar system so big that it doesn't matter if the power's on or not, or they don't even need commercial power, utility power at all. That's optimum if you have the money to do that. But otherwise, something big enough to keep those batteries charged and a backup generator for that, or a generator and batteries. I mainly use a generator and batteries, John, and then I do have a small solar array that I use to charge 2 deep cycle batteries for my ham radio equipment.
Right. It's either that or teenagers on stationary bicycles charging batteries.
Right.
Tom, these very large 6-8 foot diameter satellite dishes that started popping up all over the country in the 1970s, there's still interesting things that can be done with those, aren't there?
Sure. I mean, they can be used even for if you can arrange a feed horn, if you have experience with that, the skills necessary to make the adjustments and measurements, you can use those in place of the smaller dishes. I know people that have done that. I'm not an expert in that area. I've worked on some of it. I made some brackets and some of the actual mechanical pieces needed to do that and get the feed horn focused. But even the smaller dishes that you see everywhere now that people use for television, there's free-to-air systems, and that's where you'll pick up most of these radio networks.
Rick's satellite, of course, is one of the outstanding services.
Rick is very good.
We got a break. Call number is 800-313-9443. Friday. It is Friday, the 6th day of December, the day before the day that lives in infamy. The not-so-secret attack on Pearl Harbor happened on December 7th, 1941. I'll be in Florida in February. We have a speaking engagement. We now got the tickets posted for sale in Orlando. Saturday, the 8th day of February, myself and Steve Ben Noon. That'll be a lot of fun. And then the following day, we get on the Royal Caribbean Cruise Line for the John Moore Patriot Symposium Cruise. I hope you can join us. All the details at my website. If you want to go on the cruise, give our cruise director a call, Betsy Murphy. Her number is 636-530-9502. I say again, Betsy Murphy, our cruise director, 636-530-9502. Visiting with Tom Berryhill, we're talking about emergency survival communications and how important it is to get started yesterday. 11 months is enough time to study and get a ham radio license, get some entry-level equipment, probably a 2-meter base station would be a good starting point, a good scanner, and maybe a couple of handy talkies. Enough time to do that in 11 months, isn't there, Tom?
That's plenty of time, John, for anybody to come up to speed. And something that's also very important, besides having the equipment and getting it properly installed, is to learn on-the-air procedures and what frequencies to use and who's out there. Get to know some of the people that you encounter on the air. If you're talking on 2 meters, you're going to be mainly talking to people in your local area, maybe regional somewhat. You might talk to somebody 50 or 60 miles away, but for the most part, it's going to be in your local area. Then you'll be able to meet with these people in person, get to know them better, and form your own networks. And you're going to find that a lot of these people have preparedness issues in their mindset as well, John. You know that. And everybody will, you can kind of form your own groups and stay in touch and work with each other and help each other to be prepared for what's coming.
Right. I was at in the Radio Shack of one of our local ham guys a few years back. He took one of his bedrooms in his home, and the entire bedroom had been converted into a Radio Shack. He had a center console in the middle of the bedroom, and then shelving all around the edges full of everything. And he says, John, I could do everything that CENTCOM does from right here, CENTCOM being the central communications for the county that does all the sheriff's department, fire, paramedics, and fire dispatch. And he could. Everything was set up and ready to go. And that's not all that unusual, is it, Tom?
No, it's not. You can have a very basic installation. It could be a small radio on a shelf in any room of the house. It could be a desk, small computer table, something like that, all the way up to a console, as you described. And you can go online and search out ham radio consoles, ham radio desks, things like that. You'll see all kinds of images, photographs of some very elaborate installations, all the way down to some very simple, easy to do. You don't have to start out with something complex. It's best to build it as you go. But I would think now the main thing is to just get the license, get the equipment set up so you're ready to go in the event of any types of outages or civil disorder, anything that we may have here in the future. And that's definitely a possibility, John.
Absolutely it is. Absolutely it is. It would be foolish to disregard what we're saying. This is not some internet conspiracy theory. The President of the United States has made reference to this possibility. Men I worked with and have known and worked with for years, such as Steve Quayle, Dave Hodges, Mike Adams. I've never met or talked to Mike Adams, but I know Steve Quayle pretty well. He's been on my radio show when I first started in St. Louis back in the late 90s on a regular basis. I've known and worked with Dave Hodges for quite a while. My friend Paul Martin, who's with Dave a lot. Of course, Doug Hagman, I'm with him every Monday. Men I know and trust, these are solid guys who are not given to flights of fancy, that all share the same concerns about what could possibly happen when the Democrats lose in November 2020, which they will lose in 2020. Everything they're doing right now is aimed towards attempting to win in 2020, and they're just making it worse for themselves. I sometimes wonder, Tom, if they have some kind of mental disconnect with reality, that they keep doing the wrong thing to achieve their goal and wondering why they're not getting the outcome they desire. But getting back to our topic, Tom, you and I will be talking in August about this, 9 months from now, and people still won't be prepared. And that last 90 days would be crunch time, let's say. If you wanted to get a ham radio license, get some equipment, that last 90 days would be crunch time and very difficult. We got a break. Call numbers 800-313-9443.
You are tuned in to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Visit our website by going to republicbroadcasting.org.
Tired of being lied to by mass media? It's growing more and more apparent today that news is received less and less through standard media outlets. Even with a growing audience every day, RBN is beginning to direct more efforts into social media. Social media and the use of the internet is fast becoming the primary source of people for news, regardless of demographic. RBN has set out to provide some of the best news on the internet through republicbroadcasting.org, and also has begun to use the tools to our advantage by way of social media. Republic Broadcasting is now operating a Facebook page to function as yet another avenue to have our collective voice reach new audiences across not only America, but across the globe as well. The Facebook page features not only news, but also an RBN player to listen to our broadcasts. Get involved by visiting facebook.com/Republic Broadcasting and liking our page and share it with your friends and family, because you can handle the truth.
We are back, ladies and gentlemen. We're back. J.R. Moore here on Friday, the 6th day of December. My website is thelibertyman.com. That's thelibertyman.com. Put it right in your browser. If you use your search engine, you'll end up with all kinds of different videos and things that aren't my website. Just put it right in your browser, www.thelibertyman.com. I was talking to a gentleman this morning who expressed interest in the hobby farm down the road from me. The only hobby farm in my zip code for sale. He said he thought he'd found a half-acre lot for sale in my neighborhood, which there may be. I'm not aware of that. But there's not much you can do with a half-acre lot since you're prohibited from having a septic system on a half-acre lot. You have to have at least 3 acres to have a septic system, unless you get a place that's got one already there. It's grandfathered in. But the hobby farm is for sale. It's a beautiful place. A friend of mine, he and his wife, this was going to be their retirement home. He's a commercial and residential contractor, building beautiful homes and businesses. And it's all set up and ready to go. And the first person that gets it, they'll be my neighbor, and everybody else will have to do something else. Also on our website, of course, you'll find energy cleaners for sale. Another neighbor of mine is suffering from arthritis. It's difficult to watch this guy walk. Another friend recommended the energy cleaner to him, and he didn't sound very interested until he found out there was a 90-day money-back guarantee. Then he became interested. So it's important to know 2 things. First of all, it works. Second of all, it has a 90-day guarantee. If it doesn't work for you, ship it back. I refund your money, no questions asked. It's something that happens about 3 or 4 times a year. If you have arthritis pain, joint pain, back pain, and you want relief, get yourself an energy cleaner, get a mattress pad to go with it. That's the bottom line. Everything's right there under products at my website. You can place your order using PayPal, MasterCard, Visa. You can call my toll-free order line. Don't try to call me. Order line only. Toll-free order line is 800-592-9543. I say again, 800-592-9543. Tom, we got a regular caller. He's taking a break from feeding his goats. That's Jerry in Texas. Good morning, Jerry.
Good morning. I'm in the barn. I was going to try to get out before you got my call. But anyway, quick question, Tom, on our truck license. They are eligible to use 10-liter, 6-meter and 10-meter. And I know you have been talking about seeing a bunch of 6-meter antennas on different buildings, hospitals, and government buildings, and whatever. I'm assuming they're vertical, intended for FM communications.
Well, what I've been seeing, Jerry, are dipole antennas, horizontal dipoles. And that's for. Well, I'm having trouble competing with the barnyard.
Hang on a minute. Let me get out of the bar and maybe get a little farther. I'm sorry. Said it really answered the phone. Lucia called and she said, "Hello, Jerry." So, sorry about that, guys.
Well, what I've been seeing, and I saw it again yesterday, John, I mentioned going up Highway 141 right at, I call it 40, 64. There's a Missouri Department of Transportation building there. You look on top of that building, and there's some antennas that there is an HF dipole up there. Now, that's for regional communications, probably statewide, but it would cover at least a 200 to 300 mile radius. And in a lights-out, grid-down situation, I guarantee you they'd be using that to stay in touch with Jefferson City, where the headquarters would be, and maybe every county. Because as far as I know, most, if not all, counties in our state here in Missouri have HF single sideband communications and maybe even data systems. I've seen the equipment myself, and I saw the one that was in St. Louis years ago, about 25 years ago. And now, county by county, they're putting these things in. I go by a courthouse or a sheriff's department. I start looking for those HF antennas, and I see them in most cases. So they are setting these systems up because they know what works. And these VHF systems just won't cut it because in Missouri, everything is linked. They have this mode system where everything is trumped together, and they use various radio systems. The police departments share them. They share the dispatching, something along those lines. And if any of that linking equipment goes down, they can forget about talking farther than the local area that they're where they're located. So they need wide range coverage. And you can't get that with 6 meters. You can get that with 10 meters. See, 10 meters would be on the low end of. It's on the high end of the HF spectrum, but it's on the low end of what's called low band VHF. Low band VHF is like 30 to 50 megahertz for commercial and police and fire and so on. Whereas high band VHF was the 136 to 174 megahertz, and then of course the UHF spectrum was 450 to 470 megahertz, and those ranges vary a little bit from area to area, but that's basically what they are. And in the old days, the Missouri Highway Patrol used low band. They were at 42 megahertz. And they've moved all that now to VHF, and they're using the local sheriff system in the area where they're patrolling. It's somewhat complex the way they have this thing set up. It's all trunked together, linked together, and to me, it's overly complex. But maybe that's what they need. I don't know. But I prefer something that's simple and works under all circumstances that you're encountering, and that's something to consider. But they had quite a bit of range with the low band system in the past. 42 megahertz. So the ham operators can take advantage of the years of experience that they had with wide range communications and use 10 meters or 6 meters. I think 6 meters would be the better choice myself. And using single sideband, you could use FM, but single sideband is really good for weak signal work. And of course, the absolute best for weak signal is CW or Morse code. But not all the new hams have learned that. A lot of them are getting into it, but it takes quite a bit of effort to learn that, especially as you get older.
Well, yeah, and if you're dyslexic like me and can't spell, it is a real challenge. But anyway, I was just curious. There are some 6 meter repeaters within a 120 mile range of where I live, 5 or 6, and I'm assuming they've got to be FM, vertical FM antennas, I would assume. Now, of course, I get in trouble when I start assuming things, but more dangerous for me is thinking. But I was just kind of curious as what was the norm on that. I know, like up there in Missouri, you mentioned many years ago, most everybody, the government officials, law enforcement, and what they used, I guess it was 6 minutes because they had the long whips. And was that
was in rural areas, Jerry. That was in rural areas, and Missouri Highway Patrol used it because of the vast areas they had to cover. I know in most states in the rural areas, they may have used the low band VHF, which would have been, a lot of the police activity was around 40 megahertz, 42, as here in Missouri. But they abandoned that maybe 10 or 15 years ago, and they went to this new system where they interface with all the local departments. For instance, in my county,
repeaters and whatever, yeah. I guess it's repeaters.
Not all of it is repeater. Not all of it is repeaters. Much of it is simplex, point-to-point, but they use VHF, as in where John is and where I am. There may be some repeaters. And in my county, the sheriff does have actually 2 repeaters, one at the north end, one at the south end. But the Highway Patrol uses those same frequencies, and they'll be dispatched through the local sheriff's department, at least in my area. And if they move into another area, they may go to another county and use that. They'll call in on that frequency. So that's how they do it now. And then all of these systems, somehow they're linked together. I don't know all the technical details on it.
Maybe hard line. I don't know. It's kind of curious because I'm over there in the hill country, and that's the case here. And of course, you get out in West Texas, you've got Brewster County is huge, Big Bend, and they telephone systems that were set up out there with microwave. Ironically enough, they put microwave towers up at the ranches and areas there just so they could have the cheapest way to do it, but and easiest. But I was just curious if that was FM or if it was HF single sideband. As what you were saying.
All the police frequencies that I'm aware of have always used FM, but now here, I know at least in Missouri, they have set up HF single sideband systems, and they're licensed at 1 kilowatt. You can go on the FCC.gov website and look up the license search and just look up a search. In our case, we would search for Missouri and just search from 2.0 megahertz to 10 megahertz, for instance. And it'll tell you every licensed transmitter in the state. And you'll see the state of Missouri showing up all over the place. They have multiple frequencies that they use for this system, and it's a backup system as far as I can tell. I've never investigated it that close. I'm just aware that it's there. And I was asked one time about 25 years ago to check out the antenna system for the one that was in downtown St. Louis. And then it turns out we couldn't even get to the roof because nobody could find the key to the trap door that got us out on the roof to inspect the system. But I did see the equipment. It was a Motorola Micom, which is actually a very good radio. And it was 125 watts with an automatic antenna coupler. And they're also, most of these systems are actually licensed for 1 kilowatt of power, which is almost excessive for what they're trying to do. But it's there. If they want to use 1 kilowatt, they can. But you can read the license. You can see everything that they're doing just by looking at that FCC website.
Okay. Now, one quick question. I'll let somebody else get in, or let y'all finish up where y'all were going. Now, these systems, again, there's some assumptions here. I guess all the points, but thoughts. But this single sideband 6 meter. That's going to be point to point. It's not going to be mobile. That's the question.
Well, you can be, if you're going to use it at your home or business or anything like that, you could set up single sideband. Most of these radios nowadays, Jerry, are AM, FM, single sideband. They're all, we've talked previously.
CW, the whole ball rights, yeah.
Right, the Yaesu FT857. Very small radio. It's the smallest that I'm aware of. A radio that's a 100-watt unit, and it covers all the bands that are popular in one unit with all the modes of operation. You could do data. You could do even radio teletype if you wanted to. Sideband, FM, AM, all the way up to 450 megahertz, the 440 megahertz ham band, I should say. And that would be good for repeaters, simplex, a mobile use, base station, whatever you want to do with it. That's a pretty good unit to get started with. And you could improve upon that if you wanted to, but set up some good antennas. Most of the repeater work will be vertically polarized. And so you could set up almost any type of antenna that's vertically polarized. 6 meters would give you some tremendous range, and you could use that same vertical polarization on single sideband, but I know a lot of those stations are horizontally polarized. And then something in between would give you some of each. There's antennas that will give you vertical and horizontal polarization, and then you could read up on what the FM broadcast industry does, and a lot of theirs are circular polarization. They radiate in all directions. So you could do a lot of
you
different
mentioned
things.
that. I did a search on that, and I never could find anything to really for me to get a good visual on that circular polarization. You mentioned radio, FM, radio transmitter towers. I haven't been one.
Some of the friend of mine, I helped him with one of his radio stations, and the antennas they look like if you took a dipole and then you bent it around so the ends were almost touching like a loop, and then the one end was turned down a couple of feet and the other end was turned up a couple of feet. So that gave them a little bit of vertical and a lot of horizontal. And then they had those antennas stacked on top of, it was about a 600-foot tower, something like that. We weren't up on the tower. These were on the ground. I stopped climbing towers in 1979. No more for me. But they had 6 of these antennas then. But that gave you some radiation in all planes. So you had vertical and horizontal radiation off of that antenna. And it was a very rugged unit, more than any ham operator would ever need. But it had to be for the type of service it was in. But you could copy these things. You could look at these things, Jerry, and build your own out of copper water pipe if you wanted to, and make them the appropriate length for the ham band that you're using. It would work good on 6 meters. There's a lot of antennas very similar to this. To these broadcast antennas are being used on 6 meters. I've seen them, and I know people that have used them. So you might want to, if you're going to be on 6 meters and you want to operate repeaters and single sideband, you might want to be able to switch between horizontal and vertical polarization. Although it's not as critical as you would think, especially for close in, but for weak signal work at a distance, you really do want to have the proper polarization on that antenna.
Okay, I had a question, but I don't remember what it was now. I got derailed. Anyway, okay, thanks, Tom. I appreciate the information, and I'll get out of here. Y'all have a good day.
Thank you, Jerry.
Thank you, John.
Here's our last break. You're welcome. We'll be right back. Friday, the 6th day of December. Well, Tom, this hour has just flown by, and we're down to the last 3 minutes here. Our job, your job and my job, Tom, on this hour we take every week, is to inform, encourage, nudge, do whatever we can to get people's attention to move forward, get their ham radio license, get some entry-level equipment, and get this knowledge and training and equipment now while they can. Right, Tom?
That's exactly correct, John. And anybody that has some interest in this, I really think that they've got the study materials, American Radio Relay League, ARRL.org. Contact them. Look at what they have to offer. Study courses. There's other courses online that you can purchase. There's a lot of online websites that will help you to learn the basics and get up to the point to where you're able to take the test, get your first license, get some equipment, and get on the air. And I really think anybody that put even a little bit of effort into it could do this in 2 to 3 months, and then they would be ready to go, and then they would be well-versed in on-the-air procedures, setting up the equipment, and everything well in advance of this 11-month period we're talking about.
Well in advance. Well, 11 months may seem like a long time to some people. I know how quickly it will pass, and I hope people will wake up and smell the coffee, so to speak, and do the right thing. I know we all have busy lives. Tom, when I was studying for my ham radio license the fall of 1994, I was doing bodyguard work and had 60-hour weeks. And I was studying while my principal was in a secure area. I had maybe an hour in the evening and maybe a half hour in the morning. But I was determined to get that ham radio license, and it was a challenge, but I met the challenge despite the long hours and all the distractions of executive protection. And so people can do this. It just has to become a priority, doesn't it?
That's right. It's really not that difficult. Put your mind to it. Get the study materials, or start reviewing some of the study websites. That'll get you started. You don't necessarily even need the books, but I think it's handy to have those books for your study time that you set aside. And look at the questions. Start taking these online tests. There's websites that have online testing. They use the FCC test questions, and they present the tests in a very similar manner that you would be taking them when the time comes when you're ready to take the actual test. So once you start passing those tests and get passing scores with the online websites, you'll be ready to go to the radio club, your local radio club, where the volunteer examiners will administer the FCC test, and they'll let you know right then if you passed or not. If you passed the first one, while you're there, go ahead and try to take the next test and get up to the general class if you can. You'll start with the technician class, but you can go right up to the general class, and many people have passed all of them in one setting. I mean, that's quite a
I've seen that happen.
But if you
I've
want,
seen that
yes,
happen. Tom, thank you, sir. Let's talk privately soon. Appreciate it.
Thanks, John.
We got. Thank you, sir. Top of the hour break. We hope that Dr. Lynn Wilbert will call in. We will see. Stay tuned. All right, we're back, ladies and gentlemen. J.R. Moore here on Friday, the 6th day of December. Prep tip of the day, I want to make sure that all your team members, have a mechanical wristwatch, a self-winding wristwatch, a wristwatch that does not take batteries. Very important. Tactical situation, it could literally be a matter of life and death. We have patient waiting in the green room, my friend, Dr. Lynn Wilbert. Dr. Wilbert is my personal physician. He was my wife, Dr. Moore's personal physician. We're going to be talking about health-related matters. And if you need a private consultation with Dr. Wilbert, just give him a call. His personal cell phone number is 314-495-6480. Good morning, Doctor.
Greetings, J.R. Moore. Am I coming through pretty clearly?
It sounds pretty good. I could get more volume on my end, but it sounds pretty clear.
Okay.
Well, sir, we're well into late fall. Winter is officially, I think, about 3 weeks away. And into the holiday season, and people eating unfamiliar foods and way too much of them. There's going to be health consequences of that, won't there be, sir?
Oh, my goodness. This is the time of the year, John, where I use the analogy, I've never run a marathon. I could probably train for about 3 months, 6 months and get ready for a marathon. But I don't recommend, if you've never run a marathon, to go out and run one tomorrow. Now, you might make it in some hours, take you some time to recover. But it's not something that you would normally do. And so what I've been doing for this end of the year festivities, I don't really celebrate holidays per se, because in my world, I think every day is a holiday. We should take Thanksgiving and the spirit of love, joy, and peace and extend it throughout the entire 365 and a quarter days per year, not just a season. My son, when he was 9 years old, he said, "Dad, why isn't every day a holiday with a paid vacation?" And I looked at him and I said, "Son, that's a great question. Why don't you start working on it now? Because I haven't figured it out, and I'll help you." And so we tend to go into this event, which we haven't done probably to this degree since last year. And then you expect your body to adapt to the extra stress. Now, stress is neither good or bad. We tend to think of stress as bad. The connotation for stress is that it's not good. Well, if you didn't do something to stress your body and it never changed the physiology, then you wouldn't live. Simple example, if you were to eat a banana now, it would be a stress for your stomach, and the physiology would change in order to digest the banana. If it didn't change, the banana would kill you. And so we have an adaptive system that allows us to adapt to additional stresses. I've had clients come in this time of the year in the Midwest. There's leaves falling, and they haven't raked leaves since last year. So they get out, and they rake the front, they rake the back, they pick up the leaves, they fill up the bags, and on Monday they wonder why their neck, back, and shoulders are sore. What'd you do over the weekend? Oh, I raked my front and back. Okay. Did you ask your body for permission? What do you mean, doctor? Well, did you stretch the muscles that you were going to use? And then when you finish raking, did you thank your body for performing for you? Again, stretching the muscles that you just used. Well, no, I didn't do that. But then you can't expect your body to respond any other way. Or, doc, this back just acted up on me over the weekend. What'd you do? Oh, I painted my 2 bedrooms upstairs and my bathroom upstairs. When the last time you painted? Oh, it's been about 10 years ago. Oh, same question. Did you ask for permission? And did you thank your body afterwards? See, stretching is preparation for activity. Stretching is recharging your body, your battery. The muscles are rechargeable batteries, and the more you stretch them, the more you charge them. The more you charge them, the more intense the electrical nerve system signal is going to the brain and from the brain. And so we embark on this time of the year, and we eat all kinds of things. You know the worst thing to eat this time of year?
What's
really
that?
Difficult for me too? Sugar.
Oh, well, sugar's in so many things.
Sugar.
Yeah. It's hard to avoid.
Yes,
It really
is. It's hard. So I pick my sugar very wisely, like chocolate things and fruity sugar things, and not very much of them either. My son is a chef, pretty renowned chef. Everybody loves him here in the area. And he calls me up. He says, "Dad, I'm cooking next Thursday." I go, "Really? Okay. Well, I know where I'll be. When a chef says, 'Come, I'm cooking,' I'll be there." And by mid-evening, I was rolling in the floor with 5 grandchildren. Oh, hilarious. But the food was delicious and nutritious. See, that's the key. Delicious, nutritious, moderation.
Absolutely.
Moderation.
That's very important. Yep. Very important.
It takes your system over the edge. And then we have to recover just in time for New Year's, and then there's all kinds of activity going on around New Year's. And in fact, John, we're really close to the end of a decade and the beginning of a new one. That's what's really exciting for me. I don't know why, but it's just time. It goes by. It doesn't wait for anyone. And so when I look at this time of the year, I'm excited for two reasons. One, everybody, or most everybody, they're pretending, or at least indulging in some different level of happiness, or love, or random acts of kindness, or those things that would be beneficial for everyone all the time if we practice them more. It would be beneficial for humankind if we were kind to ourselves and kind to others. As I ride around town, I'm looking at the expression on people's faces and the pattern with which they're driving, and what else? It just tells me that people are not in a good mindset. One is because we've tended to commercialize Christmas so much and make it the focus of gift giving and all of this. I learned a long time ago. I was still dating in my early 20s, and at that time I had several girlfriends that I would buy gifts for, and I would wait till the last minute and get a great sale. And then in January, the very thing I bought was even more reduced by another 30, 40%.
Right.
And I said to myself then, self, you're not buying any more presents during Christmas. You're going to buy them in January. And I told everybody else that. It's like, no, you get them in January. You get more. I save money.
Well, I got to follow up on it. I got to follow up on that, Doctor. I had no idea when I was a child, but if you want to buy a Christmas tree and pay almost no money for it, you do it on Christmas Eve. And that's what my parents did. Mm-hmm. They always bought the Christmas tree on Christmas Eve. And, of course, they saved money because they're desperate to get these things off the lot because the following morning they're literally trash and can't give them away.
Yes. Oh, boy. But it is. It's good for the country, for sure, because, again, it switches our mindsets to something more positive. And as I study, John, even more, and I study the effect that thoughts, feelings, and emotions have on your physiology, and I research what affects the brain and how your nerve system responds. And again, I use the word nerve because I don't know who came up with nervous system. It's not a nervous system. You're nervous when you have to speak in front of 1,000 people. You're nervous when you have to go on camera or whatever. But your nerve system is the electrical system in the body that makes everything work. You name it, it's a nerve that makes it work. And then there's this other part of the nerve system that's very little known. It's called the reticular activating system. It's known as the great integrator or facilitator. In other words, if there's a nerve system function, the reticular activating system is there to facilitate or to integrate that signal. So if you listen to this command, I want you to focus on your left big toe, and I want you to just move that toe up and back down. And you were pretty successful at doing that.
Yep, I just did
it. If you were a 3-month-old, and I said that, the best I would get is a smile.
Hopefully, yep.
Yeah, all babies love me. All babies, plants, animals, and most people just love me. And so they have not learned what their eye is, or what the toe is. You go through that. Point to your nose. No, that's your ear. Here's your nose. And you go through that. You learn words, you learn the behavior. And the human brain, once it learns something, it cannot act on the opposite of what it has learned. Again, the simple analogy is don't think of a pink elephant. It's too late, you just did. So the adult brain, not to mention the child's brain, but the adult human brain can't act on the opposite. And so when we're speaking, we want to speak in terms of what we would love to have happen. Stop running through this house. 12 minutes later, they're still running. And you're about losing it. I told you to walk long time. Well, no, that's the first time you told them to walk through the house. Now, and then you just go to compromise. Now, if you want to run, how about we go outside and let you run for as long as you want to, but not in the house where there's sharp edges and it just might hurt yourself very badly. And they get the point. And so in order for you to get to hear the sound of my voice, it gets to your earlobe, goes down the auditory canal, and this sound wave hits a membrane, your eardrum. It's called the tympanic membrane. The tympanic membrane vibrates, and it turns the sound signal into a mechanical signal. A mechanical and an electrical signal. And there's 3 bones behind the tympanic membrane. Ooh, almost had it. The incus, the anvil, and what's that third one? But it's 3 of them. And those bones will conduct sound, and cranial nerve 8 will electrically take the sound that's been converted to an electrical signal and send it all over the brain. And the brain will interpret the words, move your big toe. And then it will generate a signal over a series of synapses. I couldn't begin to tell you how many synapses. That's the where the nerve signal leaps from one nerve ending to the next. It's not just one long nerve to your big toe. It's a series of synapses that's a learned program. And so now you've heard the sound of my voice, you've interpreted the words, and you evoke the signal in your brain to send a motor message. A motor message, that's the nerve signal going from brain to body, is motor. However, it's more important, the sensory message to the brain is more important than the motor message. What I mean is, the message that's coming from the body is sensory. The brain interprets that message. It doesn't challenge that message. It sends the message back based on the message it received. And so it's more important, the nerve signal that comes from the brain to the brain. And so you heard the sound of my voice. You transformed it into a electrical mechanical signal. It was interpreted all over the brain, and you were able to carry it out. Now, that's a very detailed explanation of how you're able to do that. Here's my point. The reticular activating system was everywhere that nerve activity occurred. Everywhere. It's the facilitator. I was talking to a person the other day, and I said, well, have you ever been to a chiropractor? Oh, no. Well, why? Well, I've never had the need to. Okay. Have you ever had your eyes checked? Oh, yeah. Why? Well, my vision was, okay. What about a medical examination? Oh, I get one of those every year. Why? Well, just to check up on myself. And but you didn't need to get it, but you get a medical exam every year. Okay, if you believe that, that's true. The last medical exam I had was 1994. It was for a life insurance policy. That's the last medical examination. No, I don't do yearly exams in the typical medical fashion. And so, what about your ears? Have you ever had your hearing checked? Oh, yeah, I had my hearing checked a couple of years ago. It's still pretty good. Okay, so you had your eyes and your hearing and your physical exam and all of that. And did you
Hold
know...
that thought, Doctor. Hold that thought. We have a break.
All right.
Call number is 800-313-9443. We'll be right back. We're back. J.R. Moore here on Friday the 6th of December. I'll be speaking in Orlando, Florida. That will be the 8th day of February, the day before we go on our Caribbean cruise. Details at my website at thelibertyman.com. Visiting with Dr. Lynn Wilbert. If you need a private consultation, just give him a call. His personal cell phone number, here it is, twice slowly, 314-495-6480. I say again, 314-495-6480. Let's continue, Doctor.
All right, John. And so we were having this discussion, and he says, "Oh yes, you seem pretty proud of it too." Oh yes, I get my prostate checked every couple of years. I get a colonoscopy, and he's just telling me all these things that he's doing. And then I asked him, I said, "Well, have you ever seen a chiropractor?" He says, "Well, no, I've never had to see a chiropractor." Well, why not? "Oh, I've never injured myself. My back doesn't hurt." Well, that's what you've been told. You've been told that you go see a chiropractor when you slip and fall, or when you're in a motor vehicle accident, or when you hurt your back from doing something around. That's the only time. Well, you've been misled. There's no better time to evaluate nerve system function than when it is developing. I suggest infants get a spinal exam soon after birth. The youngest child that I've updated was my grandson. He's 13 this year. And I do energy balancing work. It's brain, body, energy field balancing. And it works on everyone all the time, 100% of people, 100% of the time. And the youngest person that I updated was my son, Khalil, my grandson, Khalil. I balanced him and the baby while the umbilical cord was attached over at St. Mary's Hospital. And I stayed there until the physician, and incidentally, they were all female physicians in the delivery room. She said, "Excuse me, I need to get right here." I walked around on the other side, continued connecting dots, balancing my daughter and her son. The dad cut the umbilical cord. They cleaned him up, put him in the incubator, and I'm over there with him for the next 20 minutes. And he gets 4 consecutive energy balancing updates in 20 minutes. The most remarkable thing I've ever seen. And I had my cell phone with me, too. I didn't really think to take a picture. He'd probably be embarrassed if they pop up. He took a picture of me naked when I was born.
Right.
And to this date, he's quite a cerebral dude. He wants to be an astronaut and an astrophysicist. I go, okay. One of the things I love looking at, too, is astronomy. And so my point is, we've been taught to get checked. Why? Because an ounce of a prevention is worth a pound of cure. And I don't know if it's, well, yes, I do. I can safely say that it is not all at this day, but early on in the chiropractic profession, in the late 1890s, chiropractors were locked up in New York for practicing medicine without a license. And so medicine and chiropractic came about around the same time. See, Western medicine, as we know it, didn't exist in the 1800s. That's why so many people died, because we didn't know Western medicine. But chiropractors were locked up for practicing medicine without a license. Well, we've never practiced medicine. We just help the body's natural healing process. No prescription drugs, no surgeries unless you absolutely need it. And so I asked him, I said, well how many, are you taking any medications? He goes, oh, yeah, I take about this for this. And, oh, so you're taking about 4 medications. This is a guy in his mid-50s. And then my next question is, well, why did you start taking the medication? Oh, because I had high blood pressure. Really? When did you start taking it? Oh, about 10 years ago. Well, before you started taking it, did you have high blood pressure? Well, not that I know of. Oh, you didn't know. And then one day you showed up in the doctor's office and said, oh, you have elevated blood pressure. Let's give you a drug, as opposed to, why do I have elevated blood pressure? And number 2, ask your doctor this. Why did I stop making cholesterol-regulating drugs? Why did I stop making high blood pressure and fluid-regulating drugs? Ask your medical doctor that and see if he has an answer. It may be something like, oh, it's hereditary. Yeah, right. If it was hereditary, people would still be having leprosy. It's not hereditary. You take on some of the aspects of living from your ancestors. We've come a long way about learning about personal hygiene and what foods to eat, and what foods not to eat. Oh, speaking of foods to eat, there's a book out. It's called The Blue Zone Kitchen.
Hold that thought, Doctor. We have a break. We'll be right back.
You are tuned in to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Visit our website by going to republicbroadcasting.org.
Tired of being lied to by mass media? It's growing more and more apparent today that news is received less and less through standard media outlets. Even with a growing audience every day, RBN is beginning to direct more efforts into social media. Social media and the use of the internet is fast becoming the primary source of people for news, regardless of demographic. RBN has set out to provide some of the best news on the internet through republicbroadcasting.org, and also has begun to use the tools to our advantage by way of social media. Republic Broadcasting is now operating a Facebook page to function as yet another avenue to have our collective voice reach new audiences across not only America, but across the globe as well. The Facebook page features not only news, but also an RBN player to listen to our broadcast. Get involved by visiting facebook.com/Republic Broadcasting and liking our page and share it with your friends and family, because you can handle the truth.
Right, we are back, ladies and gentlemen. We're back. J.R. Moore here on Friday. It is Friday, the 6th day of December. My website is thelibertyman.com. That's thelibertyman.com. Our daily intelligence briefing is back up and running. A friend of mine, former counterintelligence agent, he puts this together every day. It's his retirement hobby. It's a lot of time to put this together. Dozens of new articles every week. If you want to know what's going on in the world, just come to my website daily. Go to the Daily Intelligence Briefing and get up to date on what's going on in geopolitical matters around the planet. If you have arthritis pain, we have something that will help you. It's called the Energy Cleaner. Only $285, shipping included to American zip codes. Yes, it works. Everybody with arthritis issues gets relief. Everybody does. There's a tiny percentage of people that, for reasons we don't understand, it doesn't work. I would say at this point probably 2 or 3%. I do offer a 90-day money-back guarantee for those unfortunate people. Sometimes I wonder if they even took it out of the box, but that's a different story. The main story is it works. Get the details at my website at thelibertyman.com, where you can place your order using PayPal, MasterCard, Visa. Check out the factory-made mattress pads that go with it. That's the best combination to get the quickest relief that you can get, a mattress pad and the energy cleaner. You can place your order right there at my website using PayPal. You can call my toll-free order line 24 hours a day. Here it is, 800-592-9543. I say again, 800-592-9543. Visiting with Dr. Lynn Wilbert. If you've got a question or comment for Dr. Wilbert, any health-related matter, just give us a call at 800-313-9443. If you don't want to share your personal medical situation with 10,000 people, just call Dr. Wilbert privately, and he'd be glad to talk to you. His number is 314-495-6480. Let's continue, Doctor.
All right, John, I was mentioning, I don't remember the author's name, but he writes for, I think, Time magazine. No, what's the other one? I'll think of it in a minute.
Newsweek, Time.
It's a geographical magazine. They travel
National
all over the world. There it is. I said it. National Geographic. Yes, that's what he writes for. And so he did a few years ago. He did a study of where do people live the longest in the world, and he found a few areas. He calls them blue zones. The oldest living women on this planet live in Okinawa, Japan. And he has 100 recipes of what they eat every day. If you've heard this before, you are what you eat. That is absolutely true. Just take a look around in our society today. 2 Big Macs for the whopping price of $6. Ooh. Yes, it's a pandemic. It's not an epidemic anymore. It's a pandemic. If you want an idea about how hard your body has to work when you put on a few extra pounds, just grab 2-gallon jugs and go up 10 steps, go back down, go back up again, go back down, and you put both of those jugs down. Because that little weight just causes you to work harder. Your joints, your organs, the heart by design alone, just by design. The heart never stops beating from the moment it starts beating until it stops beating. Everyone, unless you're fatally killed in an accident of some sort, but everyone dies of heart failure. No matter what condition you have, the final diagnosis is heart failure. The heart stops working. And when the heart stops working, when the heart checks out, the brain knows this. Everybody else has to check out too. And so the body is the perfect messenger. The body is the perfect messenger. It can't do anything wrong. It tells you the choices that you've been making in your lifestyle up to this point, and it accumulates. It accumulates for health-enhancing longevity of life or health longevity decreasing. It's either or. And so we have a pharmacy factory inside of our bodies, inside of our brains, actually. It's called not the pineal gland. It's called the pituitary gland. We have an anterior and posterior pituitary that makes all the drugs that we need until it stops making the drugs. The only reason why it stops making the drugs is because there's an emergency that makes the pharmacy shut down. The pharmacy factory shuts down. What's the emergency? Stress. Stress. How you think and feel about anything. How you think about your relatives. How you think and feel about yourself. If it's not positive, if it's less than positive, then you just dumped a truckload of acid into your system that your acid buffering system, your acid neutralizing system, was not supposed to handle. It is acid of such a concentrated level that your healing system will shift its priority do you have a forest fire inside your body, and your healing system directs its attention to the forest fire, much like the fires burning out in California. And so everyone from the surrounding communities comes to save those homes and save the forest. And then all of a sudden, there's a warning to the fire chief. We have a nuclear plant in Denver beginning a meltdown. Guess what? That's a greater priority than a forest fire. And all of the surrounding first responders will be at the nuclear plant. Guess what's happened to the forest fire? It's still burning. But it's not a greater threat to the planet as the nuclear plant. That's exactly what your system does. Your system gives attention to the greatest threat to your survival. And the greatest threat to your survival, second to less than positive thoughts, feelings, and emotions, the greatest threat is medicine. Man-made drugs. Most of them start from plants, and they put them in the laboratory and add some chemicals to them. And so now your body says, hey, what's this? We got a new emergency. Not that you're stuck in some past tense, future tense, or present moment stress. Not that your computer has frozen in a moment of time and it's not functioning as well as it could. It's functioning in default mode. No. It doesn't tell you all that. It says there's an emergency, and that's a greater threat to our life. And so it shifts its attention from telling you that you have elevated blood pressure to putting out the fire. The Chernobyl, if you will, nuclear plant. We must contain that. And it takes about 3 to 4 hours for that to happen. And so now it goes back to say, hey, we got to tell dude over here, he better do something. He's going to blow a gasket. Let me elevate the blood pressure again. And then 4 hours later, you take another pill. Oh, shift things. Boom. Emergency responders go over there and get the chemical out the body. That's why you have to take medicines once, twice, 3 times a day, because it takes the liver and the kidney that long to filter it. But it does nothing to address the cause of elevated blood pressure. Here's the cause of elevated blood pressure. Either plaque in the arteries or narrowing arteries or heart not putting out specific cardiac efficiency, or you're stuck in stress in your mind, and you're running from the bear all the time. You can't run and make healing drugs at the same time. One of the things that people do this time of year is that they'll eat, and then inevitably they'll engage in a conversation of past tense nonsense. Something that made you feel less than positive years ago. And every year you seem to talk about it the same way and relive the same less than positive emotions. And now you've accumulated more of what you weren't supposed to have. See, humans weren't supposed to have less than positive emotions. We learned to do that. That's why it's so hard. That's why it's so difficult. No, none of that's true. That's why it takes effort to learn how to be a positive thinker, to learn how to look at things, and you don't have to internalize it and process it as the stress and the negative that it is. You could flip it and process it like, the world's going to be a better place someday, and I'm going to do everything I can to make it that way. That's a positive input, as opposed to, no, come on now. You have no control over climate control, so why would you have a less than positive thought or feeling about that? Sure, it exists. If you don't think it exists, just Google Earth and do a comparison of 10 years ago. Yes, it exists, but you don't have to process it as something, whatever you can't do anything about, just let it go. Let it go and see the positive. If you knew the devastating consequences that the acid chemical that is produced, from the less than positive thought, feeling, and emotion, if you knew the destruction it created, from this moment on, you would do everything you can in your power to learn and practice how not to get upset about anything ever again, because it's that destructive.
Doctor, that brings up a football analogy. To me, it does anyway. Mm-hmm. And I've always admired quarterbacks. These men, when they get the ball, they've got 11 men opposing them, about 5 or 6 top athletes that are doing everything they can to reach that quarterback as quickly as they can and knock him to the ground. Despite that knowledge, the quarterback has full knowledge that these men are desperately trying to knock him to the ground. He maintains his cool, and he's watching his receivers, and he's picking out a receiver, and he's passing to the receiver, knowing full well that these top athletes running full speed, as tough and as fast as they can, are attempting to knock him down. Mm-hmm. Now, that's an example of a man overriding a clear and present danger to his physical safety and acting in spite of it, isn't it?
Exactly. And men, we tend to do that. We tend to not listen to our bodies. And I haven't quite figured it out yet. Women are different. If there's something going on in the body, they'll say, "Oh, I need to go check this out."
Or the warriors. The man's job is to protect the women and children. That's the man's job. When faced with danger, women will retreat to a safe area. When faced with danger, men will seek out and attack the danger. That's the difference, sir.
Yes, that's the difference. Yes, it's really interesting. On the flip side of that, women still live longer in this country than men. However, they die first of heart attack. I haven't quite put my finger on that one yet, but I have some ideas. And so the blue zone, these people live greater than 100 years. They all eat the same thing every day, and their diet consists of grains, nuts, berries, some fruit, and greens.
And which population is that, sir?
This is Okinawa, Japan. This is up in the Himalayas.
My dad was there for about a year. Yeah, he was really glad to get home. They're not ethnic Japanese. They're very close to being ethnic Japanese, but they are a separate ethnic group. They're not Japanese. They're not Chinese, are they?
Yes, that's right. That's exactly right. And so it just tells me that, see, on the outside we're different. On the inside we're different to a degree, but the anatomy and physiology of the human being does not change from one human to the other. The physiology is the same in every human on the planet, just different levels, just different intensities. And so what works for one will work for another, just to a different degree. Now, at this point in my life, I don't take any medications because I don't see the need to. If I need something, I would take more nutrition, more whole food supplement. And that's the key, whole food. Vitamins are showing up on the gas station shelf. Well, where does that come from? You don't know. But everybody's taking them because they believe that vitamins and minerals will help them. Yeah. They also was told that you never need to see a chiropractor. Oh, don't you go to that chiropractor ever again. I have a short story. There's my front desk. I used to have a front desk CA, and her mother-in-law was on dialysis, and every weekend she would have a blood pressure event where it would skyrocket through the roof, plummet through the basement. They have to take her to the emergency room and keep her alive, stabilize the blood pressure, and she'd go home. And she'd do it again the next weekend. And I'm going, weekend stress, huh? Okay, good. Tanya, I can help your mother with that. You know, I can help her. Okay, one day she comes in. This is September. The first week that she was in the office, she didn't go to the emergency room. That's different. The first month, she didn't go to the emergency room. And so what I did, of course, I put her on a nutrition program and did the energy balancing things that I do, and her body responds perfectly. Once you update the program, you know, if you're running a DOS operating system, Windows 95 or something, you have no software support. I mean, those programs are outdated. And some of the programs in our bodies are outdated. And so once we identified what the issue was and then addressed the issue, it's either raw materials available for healing or the system needs to be updated to present time consciousness. And so we did that. And within 6 weeks, she had gotten her driver's license back. She was driving to Memphis, taking her husband, going fishing on the weekend. She said, Dr. Wilbert, I have never stopped taking my green products and my minerals. Oh, I'll never stop taking it. And one day, and she went from dialysis 3 days a week, 4 hours a day, to dialysis 3 days a week, 2 hours a day or less. And she was driving herself. And the dialysis nurse said, what are you doing, Ms. Brooks? You seem to be getting much better. Well, my chiropractor, oh, no. No, you're not going to see a chiropractor. This is December. Well, yeah, I've been going since September. No, you can't go see a chiropractor. Well, I'm feeling so good. Yes, you are, but it's not the chiropractor. You ask that chiropractor if he knows anything about kidney disease, because it's tricky. Next visit, she comes in. Dr. Wilbert, my nurse asked me to ask you if you know anything about kidney disease. I said, nope.
Hold that thought, doctor. Hold that thought. We have a last break. We'll be right back. Friday, the 6th of December. Well, doctor, we're all waiting to find out what the outcome was. Did this lady continue seeing you as your client, or did she discontinue after talking to the meds? She's asking you a question, what your knowledge was about kidney disease, and let's go from there. We got about 3 minutes.
I go, well, no, I don't study kidney disease. But if you want to know how a healthy kidney works, I can share it with you. I have a whole book of pathologies. I don't study pathology. She came one more time, and a week before Christmas was her last visit. And here this lady had said that she would never stop taking her green products and never stop seeing her chiropractor. And she said, I'm going to get my husband in here because this will help him too. He's got the same thing I got. The end of January, she was admitted to the hospital for hemorrhaging, internal hemorrhaging. She was in the hospital for most all of February, and she died the end of February. So from December, 2 months later, after listening to the rhetoric of a nurse that challenged the skill of a physician, and you had clear evidence that it works for you, and you're going to let the medical profession dissuade you, that's the power they have to help people understand you never need to see a chiropractor. That's bunk. Right. We spend approximately 120, 140 more hours, classroom hours, than medical doctors. We study the same stuff. We just look at it differently. We just treat it differently. And so what I learned from that is that if we listen to what mainstream media tells you, you'll be misled. You will be misled, and you'll be hiding under a rock like everybody else. What I want to mention, John, is that I do have a YouTube channel. If you go to YouTube and type in Dr. Wilbert, WILBERT.com, I have a few videos on there that gives an overview of exercise physiology, why you should never do a jumping jack again, kind of explain some of the energy balancing procedures. My website is about 10 days away from being complete. I'm rewriting it. I'm targeting a different audience and just getting the message out to people who want to be well, like premier athletes. They want to be well. Most people in their right minds want to be well, and AccuTouch is the solution. Once you modify your lifestyle, once you commit to modifying your lifestyle, once you know and have a deep, heartfelt belief that your body can't do anything wrong and that it's always in a state of healing, It's just that what is it trying to heal? It cannot heal a memory because memories never go away. You have to take those memories and reassign them. So when you come up with an experience between now and the end of the year, and it didn't make you feel bad, it didn't make you feel good, it made you feel less than good, change the ending of the experience. Go back and relive it and make it positive. It's a huge impact on humankind.
Thank you, sir.
Awesome, John.
Have a great weekend.
All righty.